beep 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 beep. I don't know how the hell it goes. Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to review a movie that came out in the 80s, directed by Wes Craven, but it wasn't written by Wes Craven. He probably took this job just to make some money. They probably offered him a boatload of money so they could put from the creator or from the director of Nightmare on Elm Street on the poster art for this movie. Coming at you to review Deadly Friend. Now, I knew about this movie in the 80s from the video store era, of course, being a frequenter of video stores in the 80s, and obviously the horror section and things like that. So I remember this cover. Of course, this is the exact cover here, cut down for a clamshell. I remember this cover and being intrigued and thinking like, oh, what's that about? Like robot Terminator chick or whatever. And this back of the original VHS that has since been cut down to clamshell. Deadly Friend. And I will say that the artwork is very misleading with the, looks like the Terminator endoskeleton under the girl's hands or whatever. This movie came out in 1986 and then 87 on the home video, of course. And this movie, I don't think I ever saw it until I got this VHS, just like with the last video uploaded, my review of The Demon. I think the first time I got this, the first time I saw it was after I blind buyed this tape. I probably got like 20, back when in the early 2000s, Video Updates were purging a lot of their VHS. They were doing a sale that was like get 20 tapes for $10, and this was probably one of the many movies on VHS that I got from that Video Update sale, probably never having seen it. And that was probably the first time I saw it, probably 2001, 2, or 3 or something like that. And it's funny because I've probably seen it like 3 times in my life, and like every time I see it I completely forget pretty much everything about it except that one line about the what the hell's her name? The Kristy Swanson character having big tits or nice tits or something like that. That's the only thing about this movie that I remember, is that kid from next door saying that about the Kristy Swanson character. And every time I look at this cover I'm like, God, I don't remember her having like an endoskeleton. That's because she doesn't. So I'll get to that later on in the review. So basically the premise of this movie is mom and teenage son move into this area, and like mom looks like she's 30, teenage son looks like he's 20, but whatever, mom's kind of hot or whatever. This is like this is the mid 80s, so it's like in the Short Circuit era, when they were having all these robots, these radio controlled robots and stuff you could buy at Target and all this and that. So it was the robot era, Johnny Five and Short Circuit and all kinds of other probably robots I'm forgetting about right now. This boy wonder, kid in high school, or I don't know if he's even going, I think he's like, I don't know what the hell, he's going to some trade school or tech school or whatever, who the hell cares what he's doing. Basically he's a whiz kid who designed his own little BB robot, and it's just like this thing that the production of this movie just whipped up or whatever. It's just, I will say that every time I watch this I forget everything about it, and it's just like the opening scene has some scene where some guy's going to rob their vehicle and the robot kind of thwarts the the robber or whatever, and that's the pre-credit sequence or whatever. And it's just like, God, what the hell, I completely forgot about that, or the whole stupid aspect of the first half of this movie, this kid having this annoying, and I want to say that I just rewatched this movie recently in this tape, incidentally, dusted off the VCR and put the tape in the VCR and watched this movie again. And the robot stuff to me is just annoying, like how it's just like, it doesn't talk, it just says all these stupid just noises and BB, BB this and that and crap. So this kid comes into town and instantly befriends this next door, not a next door neighbor, but this other kid from the neighborhood. And there's this hot chick, Kristy Swanson, who lives next door with an abusive father. And it's just like you're just like, oh man, this is Kristy Swanson's early years or whatever, before she as she's climbing the ranks, if you will. So one good thing about this movie is the eye candy, if you will, of just seeing Kristy Swanson. She's obviously a cutie head in this movie and stuff like that. So premise of this movie is they just get all friendly, and it's just like she's got the abusive dad, and he gets all friendly with Kristy Swanson, and you know, the other kid in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And what ends up happening is, I think, is this the woman from Throw Mama from the Train? This woman was in a lot of stuff in the 80s. Was it this woman who was in the Goonies and all this crap? This kind of, you know, ugly, haggish looking woman is this recluse in her neighborhood who's got this fence around her property and stuff, and it's this big, you know, thing and this and that and stuff. And I'm just going to cut to the chase and basically say what happens towards, I don't know, maybe midway point of the movie or whatever happens is, it's like Halloween or whatever. I don't know, wait, I don't even know if this happens on Halloween. It doesn't really matter. But basically what ends up happening is, you know, this woman basically, you know, the robot can, you know, she's got like a padlock on her, you know, fence in the front, you know, the front pathway to her house or whatever, and the robot can just go through every little, through every, you know, possible combination and get his way into the, in her property or whatever, and she comes out with a gun and basically blows the robot away. And the, you know, the creator, you know, Boy Genius son's like, no, no, baby, no, baby. And it's just this scene of, you know, the robot getting shot to pieces in slow motion, and it's just like the sad parts of Short Circuit. It's just like, no, no, baby, or whatever. And so you're just like, oh, well, it's your own dumbass fault or whatever for, you know, I think the other neighborhood kid or whatever, you know, I don't know if this happened on Halloween. I think it did happen on Halloween. You know, they're all three of them, you know, Christy Swanson, neighborhood kid, and the Boy Genius with the stupid, annoying robot. You know, I think the neighborhood kid talked him into letting the robot, you know, do the combo and then go into the frickin' yard just for no good reason. I think earlier in the movie she, you know, pointed a shotgun at him when they were fiddling with the fence before. So it's like, what's the point of, you know, I guess we're just dumb teenagers. What's the point of effing with this woman's property? It's just pointless. But robot gets destroyed, sad moment, and then later on, not much longer later, the this is I think this movie was like based when I was, you know, when the opening credits were rolling, it was like based on a novel or something like that called, I think, just simply Friend. And of course that title for a movie is really not that amazing, so they just put the word deadly before the word friend. Deadly Friend. So what ends up happening not long after, of course, with abusive, the one thing I want to say is there's this funny scene where I was just watching it the other day, and like, where the Christy Swanson character is actually having a nightmare, but we don't know it's a nightmare as it's happening, where the dad comes into her room at night and he's just gonna beat her up or kiss her or whatever, and she ends up stabbing him, you know, breaking off this thing, this vase to hold a rose or whatever, and breaking it off so it's like this tube, and stabs him. And he's just like, just standing there, and the blood squirting out of it all over her. And I'm just like, oh my God, is this really happening? Like, Wes Craven, what the fuck is going on? And then luckily she wakes up, and I'm like, oh, because that was just like, if that was happening in the quote-unquote movie reality, I was just going to be like, oh my God. And it should be said that, you know, I really feel like this is just like bottom of the barrel, you know, mid-80s Wes Craven. It's just such a shame that he did this. Like, he must have just, maybe he got offered a lot of money to direct this because of the success of Nightmare on Elm Street, I can only imagine. But I mean, if it didn't have the name like Wes Craven in the credits, you'd never know that it's like a Wes Craven movie. I mean, anyone could have directed this thing. There's really nothing about it that really stands out. But when you're doing someone else's script, I mean, I guess in a lot of ways you don't have a whole lot of, you know, you don't have a lot of, you know, breathing room, or, you know, you can't really necessarily, I mean, a lot of what makes a movie good is, I guess, the scenario and what happens moment to moment. So if you're directing someone else's story, I mean, you almost, I don't even know, you almost can't make anything good about it if there's nothing, I mean, not to say that there's nothing good about the story, but I mean, I'm just saying that, I mean, it just doesn't feel like, you know, Wes Craven movies that he wrote and directed a lot of times feel like, you know, a lot more creative than like what this movie is, in my opinion. So what ends up happening is of course, you know, the abusive, it was just a matter of time before abusive dad accidentally kills, or on purpose kills, you know, Christy Swanson character, and that of course happens where he slaps her on the top of the stairs and she goes falling down the stairs and hits her head and becomes like a vegetable or whatever. And then at one point, you know, there's this scene where at 9 o'clock we're gonna, you know, take her off life support, and so the genius kid wants to break into the hospital before she's disconnected from life support, and steal the, steal her out of there so she can implant the brain of now, the now destroyed BB robot. He's got his little microchip brain in a case or something on his desk or shelf or something like that. So he wants to implant this brain basically onto her physical mushy brain. So the BB robot can basically, I think what he was saying is that it can help to try to revive because she's a vegetable, so there's nothing going on with the brain. So I think what he was saying was not so much to have BB robot in Kristy Swanson body so much as hopefully the BB robot, chip being implanted into her brain can help revitalize her actual brain or whatever. And I think it kind of, towards the end of the movie, I think we're seeing, like, when it goes from robo-vision to human vision, I think it was supposed to, I don't know if that's supposed to be like her actual, the actual character of, I want to say it's Sam, for Samantha. I hate when a girl has like a boy name, or, it's short for Samantha, but it's just so dumb, you got a beautiful hot chick, and it's Sam. It's just like, give me a break. Let's call her Joe or George while we're at it, But anyway, that's a side topic. So, where the hell was I where the hell was I going? Let's think. Oh, I think I was talking about his plan to put the BB brain inside, I'm going to say Samantha's brain. And that's what, of course, he ends up doing. And it's so dumb when I watch this. It'd probably be cool if you're a kid watching this, but as an adult, it's just like, so, she's got the BB brain surgically implanted onto her mushy brain. And so when she wakes up, she's like, they kind of have these dark rings around her eyes, so she's kind of like a corpse that's basically just being animated with these electrical impulses from this thing that's attached to her brain or whatever. But if you look at the cover, and it's just like, it looks like she looks like Spock hand there. I mean, look at it's like from Vulcan, Deadly Friend from Vulcan. If you're wondering what that's about, I was wondering looking at the cover too. Well, since the robot claw has like a claw or whatever like that, so it's kind of cool, I guess, in a way. I wonder if it was in the script where it's kind of like they have Kristy Swanson do this as like when she's walking around, and and all of a sudden, it's also the 80s with the robo dance shit and stuff. So I mean, it's just kind of dumb how you put this robo brain on her brain, and now she's acting like a robot or whatever. So this movie is just, in my opinion, just a kind of a crock of shit and really not very good. And obviously it's just, so he's hiding her in, I think, the shed in the backyard or whatever, hiding Kristy Swanson or Samantha from Mom and stuff like that. Hot Mom was like, I swear, 30, 35 at the most years old, and she, it's just like, oh my God, 30-year-old mom, 20-year-old son. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe it is. I wonder what the youngest girl, like human girl, to ever have a baby is. That'd be something fun to know. Not necessarily. I don't know. My mind's just drifting. I mean, it's nothing new. So I guess one kind of cool thing is, we kind of saw it coming that, of course, at sometime at night or something, the Samantha character, who's basically got the BB brain, but also Samantha brain, goes basically inside to the house of her dad's place, and obviously it's a no-brainer. The Samantha / BB brained, buxom babe chick, and it's kind of frustrating how, obviously Kristy Swanson was kind of endowed in the chest area. It's kind of a bummer, for the remainder of the movie. She's got these big old baggy, like, button-down shirt on, and it's just like, oh, come on, But whatever, life goes on. But she goes in to basically kill the dad character. I can't even remember how she did it, to be honest. I think I just watched it not long ago. I don't even remember how. It must have not have been that memorable because I don't remember it. But the BB brained, physical body of Samantha goes in and kills Dad for revenge or whatever. And then, of course, at some point later on, the woman, the old hag from Throw Mama from the Train and Goonies or whatever. One thing I do, the standout part of this movie is her death. Maybe it was just like, because as it was approaching in the whole basketball, there's a basketball thing where earlier in the movie, the basketball bounces over the fence and lands on her porch or whatever, and she kind of just takes it and, throws it in her place and takes it as her own or whatever. So it was kind of cool how the best thing about this movie, and it's really not even worth sitting through the whole movie to see, but the Samantha character the woman standing up against the wall for whatever reason, I don't know how she ends up against the wall, but Samantha character throws the basketball at her head and just the basketball just smashes her head to pieces. And then there's this really kind of cool shot, which I'm surprised they got away with for MPAA, is they got this guy who's maybe does the thing, and I don't know, it's kind of like building the shoulders on top of the head or whatever. They probably got a short chick or whatever to dance around with this headless shoulders and the blood squirting out a little bit and landing on the ground. What's so funny is I looked at her legs, and it's just like, yeah, those the legs are actually all hot and the young and sexy looking legs, and it's just like, yeah, that was the old woman, all right, or whatever. But so the highlight of the movie for me is throwing the basketball against this woman's head and having it just smash it to pieces or whatever. And then there's another cool scene where later on the girl, there's some kind of confrontation, I think, with the smart kid and the neighborhood friend or whatever, and she comes just crashing out of the window upstairs and just like lands on this kid to attack him or something. I was like, you know what, that's cool. Just that moment where Samantha comes crashing out of the window like a Terminatoress and just attacks this kid. I can't remember what she was attacking him for. So I was just sitting here trying to think of how this movie ends, and she ends up, she ends up, so once she jumps out of the window and attacks this kid or whatever, I think she runs away, and there ends up being this police chase where they're chasing her all over the place. She ends up getting gunned down, I think, so she ends up in the morgue again. Well, she wasn't in the morgue before, she was a vegetable on life support, but he stole her before they could put her in the morgue. But so they end up shooting her dead because she's not some kind of, as the artwork would have you believe, she's not some kind of endoskeleton with living tissue under metal skeleton or whatever. She's just flesh and blood with just a robo brain or robo enhanced brain or whatever, or robo brain running her physical body. So when she gets shot dead, I mean, she's dead, of course. And there's this bit where the kid breaks into the morgue, and you're like, God, not again! Like, this is never ending or whatever. And it's kind of cool the way the movie ends, where he goes to look at pulls the corpse out of the ice box or whatever thing, and he goes to look at the corpse of Kristy Swanson character Samantha, and then you see like she puts her hands up on him or whatever, and then you see her face, and it's like the flesh is like ripping off of her face, and then it's ripping off of her hands to be like skeleton hands, and then you see like when the flesh comes off her face, it's like BB, like a variant of the dumb annoying BB robot's head. And it's just like, I don't know if I don't remember if we see this kid then wake up, or if that's just how the movie ends. I don't remember that part about the movie. Like if this image of the flesh ripping off her face and the BB robot head being underneath was a nightmare, or if it's just how the movie ends. I don't remember that aspect about the movie, but the ending was I did kind of like that, just from a, I don't know, just let's do something at the end of the movie kind of a thing. So definitely not a big fan of Deadly Friend. I've probably seen it, like I say, I think maybe 3 times total in my life, and every time I go to rewatch it, I can't remember anything about it other than that line, about the character's tits or whatever. And having seen it again for possibly the 3rd time, and I'm almost, I can't even, it's already leaving my brain, because I can't remember, the definitive ending of this movie or whatever. But maybe that's it. Maybe that's the end of the movie. And then the one thing I will say about the end credits is it's got this stupid song where it's just like a, BB, like BB. And it's just like the end credits, is just like they got some dumb, half-ass, wannabe dumb song with just like BB themed, BB robot themed. And it's just like, oh my God. So, even the end credits have to be annoying. So I can't, I don't know. star rating for this one will be, I don't know, it's somewhere, I guess I can go as high as somewhere between 1.5 to, I think we're just going to go 1.5 stars out of 4 stars for Deadly Friend. I wanted to go 1 3/4 stars, but I mean, it's just, I don't know, there's really not much about this to like. You get sick of the abusive dad, there's just so many things about this movie that I just, the annoying BB robot, when he got shot up, I was just like, as a viewer, I was like, yes! Frickin' finally, because that thing was just annoying. So there's just so many things about this movie that are annoying, and even if Kristy Swanson is fun to look at and stuff, as I said, so the majority of the movie she's got these baggy clothes and tops and stuff like that, and so they're not even really taking advantage of what Kristy Swanson had to offer at that age or whatever. So it's just like, I don't know, the movie is, to me, it's just mostly, I guess, annoying, and I guess that pretty much does it. So thank you very much for watching my review of Deadly Friend, not one that I can really recommend. I think this came out on DVD at some point, and I think it's now out of print, and it's something that I definitely don't need to have on DVD. The VHS tape will work good enough to never ever watch it. I probably say that every time after I watch it, and then 10 years later, or 7 years later, I'll completely know nothing about it, and it's like, why don't I watch this? And then I watch it, and I'm like, oh, that's why I don't watch this. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video.